Hello and welcome to the Gist on Strat News Global. I'm Surya Gangadharan. Today I have with me Soe Myint, the editor of Mizzima News, a Myanmar-based news organization that even does television broadcasts from rebel-held areas. And Soe Myint has been moving in and out of Myanmar for some time, although currently he's based in Thailand. And he's presently in India for a short visit. Soe Myint, glad to meet you again after a very long time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again, my second home.
Tell me, Soe Myint, what is the internal situation in Myanmar today? We see so many reports about the junta forces collapsing, surrendering bases and also that. So what is happening?
One is, of course, it is very clear the conflict and the protracted conflict is going on. The fights between Myanmar military, junta, and various resistant groups who are united against the Myanmar military in their own ways, and so the fights are going on in different parts of the country. 43% of Myanmar's territories are in the hands of, under the control of these various resistant groups. So Myanmar military junta still control urban areas, largely Yangon, Naypyidaw, Mandalay, urban areas, but a lot more on daily basis are gradually captured and seized by the different resistant groups. So that is what is happening. But on the other hand, there are a serious humanitarian crisis has been there in the last 3 years, particularly in recent months. More than half of country's populations are in very much dire need of basic food and medicines in different parts. And IDPs or refugees internally, the number have been increasing. Even in Delhi, even in India, we have 60,000 Bamars being sheltered in Mizoram alone, Mizoram state alone, and in Delhi, 6,000 Bamars refugees. So this number will increase as the protracted conflict continues.
Tell me, how come that after so many years of being in control and seemingly invincible, the army has just collapsed? I mean, in the wake of, the sudden rebel surge. How do you explain it?
Yes, many internal and external stakeholders and neighbors thought that this had a traditional notion and institutional knowledge that Myanmar military is the strongest institution and number such and such in the rank of military power in region and in the world. And Myanmar military will never be defeated militarily. So we need to work with them because they will be the whatever formats, they will remain in power. But why Myanmar military is getting defeated militarily? I mean, apart from diplomatically and economically, Myanmar is getting defeated militarily on the ground. One, they made very big mistake of this coup at the times of COVID, at the times of when young people are very enjoying their limited freedom, young people who are very smart, who are very different from the generations of the generals. So that was the very big mistake of staging a coup at the wrong time in a wrong strategy. That is one. Second one, they were, for the first time in history, of course, they had been the Myanmar military being a Bamar majority, they had been fighting against the ethnic minorities for decades. For the first time, now they are fighting among themselves, against the Bamar communities itself. So if you look at Myanmar military recruitment ground, traditional recruitment ground, it has been, until before coup, it has been Chin State, it has been Zagai, Magui. All these are now against the Myanmar military. So they will get the recruitment. They will get the new recruitment. So they lost the ground. Plus the morality of the Myanmar military from low ranks to higher ranks is really gone down in the last. One is a corruption. Myanmar military is very prone with the corruptions. If you are stationed in a sort of a border area, you get rich in few months. That is how they are corrupt. So it is basically the downfall of Myanmar military. One was this just because of the coup. If they didn't stage coup, Myanmar military might probably still continue. But they made this strategic mistake of staging a coup at the wrong time, at the wrong format. plus the corruption within the military, the morality, plus Myanmar military. What happened was this leader, current leader of Myanmar militaries, he has this his wishy-washy thinking of, okay, Myanmar military needs the modern weapons from like air defense system. Myanmar military needs the sophisticated ships and warplanes. But on the other hand, he was spending the money for such and such. He could not spend even for the basic necessary of the soldiers.
Yeah.
So that happened in the last 10 years. So Myanmar military at the end of the day didn't have the capacity and the necessity to fight back the enemies. Plus, he made one particular strategic calculation mistake, which he thought that by relying on Russia, Putin's Russia, he would be saved. He will be saved. He will be able to get military wares, assistance from Russia. Traditionally, as you know, Myanmar military is very much dependent on China.
Yeah.
But this particular guy is not China. He doesn't like China. I mean, of course, China doesn't like him. I mean, China used to have a better relationship with Aung San Suu Kyi than him. But he made this strategic calculation mistake of trying to depend on Russia. But unfortunately for him, Russia got stuck in Ukraine after a few months after coup. So all these are, I mean, some of the factors that Myanmar military get defeated today on a daily basis in different parts of the country.
Do you think General Minong Hlaing can be removed by his own army?
There too, we have to differentiate between Myanmar military and SAC led by General Ming Aung Hlaing. So we have to differentiate. Myanmar military still has an institution. It has its own the apparatus and military wares, and they still have. But when we talk of General Ming Aung Hlaing, he is there are many capable leaders within the Myanmar military all throughout. He is regarded even within the Myanmar military as the very incapable leader, military leader. He's regarded as, he's not liked by many. So we have to differentiate how much time he has as head of the SAC or as head of the Myanmar military. He can be, but the issue is he might not have an exit.
Yeah.
He might not, because when he staged coup, I'm sure that he knew that he doesn't have return.
Yeah.
He doesn't have return when he staged coup, because they are, even outside the country, there are criminal cases and international cases pending against him, and everyone, and internally also everyone really are after him. So, but Myanmar military without him might be different of what Myanmar military today, which is difficult to say.
Yeah.
Either he will remain there what he is now, because he is the head of the military, he is the commander-in-chief. Being the commander-in-chief, of course, he controls complete control.
Yeah.
And in the last 3 years, we have seen all these changes he has done to push through whatever the dissent or possible dissent outside his circle. So he has a tight control of inner circle that he continues to as a kind of a continue what he's doing now.
So let's talk of the rebel groups. You have so many of them, even a Three Brotherhoods Alliance and so many others. Can you just give us a brief rundown? Which are the main groups now battling the military?
I will go through the borders, because that is where it is easier.
Yeah.
One is China border, China-Myanmar border. Yes, Three Brotherhood, Arakan Army is included.
Yeah.
In fact, when we talk of Arakan Army, it is not, they are not only in Rakhine State, Arakan State. They are in very much in China border. They are in very much in the Indian border as well. At least some of them are. But these are basically the groups that border and that are near to China border. So, and they also need to depend on China for their supplies or for their resources or for their whatever the necessity they need. So that is one big major sort of the armed resistance sort of a grouping. We have BDF. Basically, of course, they are also scattered even in the ethnic areas, but they are largely in the Bamar areas, like Sagaing, Mandalay, and Magui. So these are sort of the PDF, and they are also near to the areas like Nebido, but they are mostly near to the Nebido, like Mandalay around, or Kaya state, Karenni state we call it. Then there is another grouping of K3C, Kachin, Karen, Karenni, and Chin. This is another grouping which basically work very closely with an organization like NUG, National Unity Government, and PDF. So these are the three kind of sets of the, and they do coordinate, I must say. They
coordinate attacks?
They do coordinate militarily on the ground. Okay. They do coordinate.
So what brought them together finally?
Fighting against, getting rid of this Myanmar military junta. That is the only single unifying common platform where they are coordinating, fighting together, even though they are different in different places, because for them,
this is the one.
Get rid of this Myanmar military junta.
Do you see any timeline where the military is defeated or surrenders, or maybe the general goes off into exile?
For me, it's a question. It is not the question whether Myanmar military will be defeated. Myanmar military is getting defeated. That is very sure, and it will get moved. It will get. But there is also a question of who will entirely defeat who. That is a big question. Of course, Myanmar military can still be there because as a military, I'm not saying Myanmar military with Myanmar. I'm not saying Myanmar military can still, because they can still be the very resilient and very sort of be there in a place like Nebido, because that is where they have put all their defense, sort of a final defense there. So they can still be there. But what will happen surely is more and more areas of Myanmar, Bamar, will be captured and will be in the hands, will be control of the different resistant groups. That is what we will see in next, already seen, and we will see more of such in future, in near future.
Before I come to my next question, a short break, an ad break, and we'll get back. Welcome back. We are talking to Soe Myint, editor of Mizzima News, about the recent developments in Myanmar. Now, we were talking about the rebel groups. Is there, do they have a plan beyond, say, defeating the military? Are they even discussing the future of Myanmar politically?
There are two parts. One is ethnic minority nationalities who have been struggling for their self-determination, autonomy, self-governance for decades. They have vision. Their vision is very clear: federal, genuine federal union, and democracy, democratic. Without democracy, they will not be there. Without federal, genuine federal union, they will not be there. So they are there. And except some groups, like for example, Northern Sham groups, which like Wa group, Wa for example, Wa has been in their own way independent from all this.
Wa State Army
Army has been there, but most of them have a vision of democracy and federal union, genuine federal union. Then we have Bamar, not Bamar as such, but we have another sort of a political group, which is the government, National Unity Government, and its army of People's Defense Force. So they do have, of course, the same vision of federal union, genuine federal union, and democracy. Only thing is how these two will work together and come together. There are attempts. There are two, three mechanisms. You can. One is a national coalition, NUCC they call it. Another one is NUG. There are about 28 organizations in the NUCC. Different groups. So even CSOs are there. The political parties are there. Armed groups are there. NUG is there. So these attempts are currently ongoing. I am not saying whether they will get the one vision in tomorrow or in next year. I am not saying, but there are attempts. What could happen is, whatever we are, Bamar Myanmar, by the way, will never be the same. of what it was before 2021 February will never be the same. I mean, that is very much reality. What could probably happen is a kind of a loose federation where there might be the varieties and variation in degrees of autonomy and variation of power, but they do share some of the common sort of a space so that they are together. It definitely, it will never be the unitary, it will never be the unitary, it will never be the even the strict federalism. It can be a kind of a loose federation. I don't know, I'm also asking you, you have in India, you have a maybe you have a kind of a union of states. Union of states, maybe, I don't know that, but they most of them want to be together because they know with all their years of hardships and experiences, all of them know that they cannot be independent as isolated, and they are that. So that is their experience. That's what they are fighting on the ground and coordinating each other. So maybe that togetherness, having togetherness, can lead to a kind of a staying together and living together, and depending on who. Also, of course, there is a question of very much a big question of minorities within minorities. Within Shan state, they are minorities. Within Kachin state, they are minorities. Within Rakhine, they are minorities. So a lot of power sharing, a lot of resource sharing, a lot of respect and recognition. I think that is next stage.
What about the Rohingyas? Any talk about the Rohingya?
Rohingya, for the first time, majority Bamars, those at least those who are struggling for democracy and human rights, have come to accept Rohingya as a part of the nation or society. Come to accept. Many of them have. Some of the leaders have apologized to Rohingyas for what had happened in 2007 and afterwards. But the big question is citizenship. So I have not seen. I might be wrong. I have not seen any of these resistant forces coming out with a very straightforward answer to answer the question of whether Rohingyas will be given citizenship or not. That I have not seen. Because, I mean, many of them point out to this old traditional, whatever, the law 1982 citizenship, which is very outdated, and so that I know. But Rohingyas are a part of, like a part of NUCC. They are Rohingya leaders, women, Rohingya leaders are a part of the this solidarity and this international lobbying and campaign for resistant forces. They are a part of the NUCC. Okay. Even the deputy minister, human rights minister of NUCC, he himself is a Rohingya.
Okay. So some positive something over there. Last question, India. What is India doing with this current turmoil? On paper, we are still with the junta, but are you aware of us talking to the other rebel groups?
When India, like many other players, like for example Japan to be named, have this identity crisis. That is my word, identity crisis. Why? India publicly engaged with their generals and with SEC in Nepido. But in 3 years' time, the areas and the interests where India, like for example, Clayton project,
absolutely,
multi-modal project, that is not in the control of the SEC. That is in the control of very much Arakan army and the resistant forces. So India doesn't know now what to do. I mean, it's struggling. But India, I know India having a democracy. India also have been engaging with others, the resistant groups. But this engagement has not been formalized and not political engagement. It should have been political engagement. Thailand recently started doing Thai parliament, engaging for the first time publicly with NUG and the ethnic resistant forces. I wish India being a democracy, engaging with these, because Nepido is not the same anymore. And just for India interest, India needs to talk with them, engage with them. And although India being the largest democracy can strengthen this democracy next to, can strengthen, get this, because when we say this, what will be the next? That is where India can support, can help, can strengthen this, at least to talk, to have a dialogue among themselves, to share to look for the shared values. India has a lot of experiences with this. So India can do, and of course India was in the last 30 years at many point of time, India was like Bamar.
Yeah.
India being slow and India is cautious. And
yeah, very cautious.
To put it very sort of straightforward, India is cautious because there are issues like China is there are issues regional. India has also India is a power now, so India is cautious. But India, this is very good time, in my opinion. India also engage with other stakeholders, emerging stakeholders, support the refugees here, provide humanitarian assistance, medicines, healthcare, food, so that, and then scholarship for the young people, so that whoever those emerging powers will be able to come together and work together.
Soe Myint, on that note, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Let's hope, I think there already is an NUG office here.
Yes.
But it's yet to rise in any profile.
Yes.
So we'll have to wait and see how that moves.
Yes, I think that is what I will call the sort of a political engagement. Because when you have a refugee here, I was a refugee for more than 20 years. Yes. I'm running Mizzima now. You help me as a refugee. You help Mizzima. And I can contribute. I'm doing for the media work. I can contribute. Same thing. If you have even a refugee on your own soil, that you are supporting this future vision of Bamar, Myanmar.
Yeah. Looking forward, Soe Myint. Thanks very much. Great meeting you again.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Pleasure.
That's all we have for you on this edition of The Gist. Thank you very much. Good day.